30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful, warm Monday afternoon in Nashville, Tennessee. And you're like, this doesn't look like their normal background. I'll tell you exactly what's up. Okay, I'll move out of the way for a minute. This is a nice backdrop in a room where we normally do not do our show. But there's all kinds of stuff going on here at the Ford Ice Center. As you know, the NHL Draft is this week in Nashville. The awards dinner is tonight. I'm excited about being invited to go. Really looking forward to that. But this is where we are. And we've got an interesting show for you today. I will tell you this on the front end. If you wonder, okay, what did George do when he got back off vacation? Kelly, I played in Rudy Kalis's golf tournament today. Proceeds benefiting Men of Valor. Got a lot of golf tees. And I got news for you. I was not the disgrace that I normally am. I hit the ball pretty good.
Oh, George.
I'm serious. Now, look, I tell you the truth. When it comes to my golf game, I have a word for it. The word is rancid, which means it smells bad.
Well, here's the deal, George. You've gotten to the point that in your age that you don't look your age. I've already said that. I hate saying that about you, but you've got the good Greek heritage, so you don't look
the olive look.
You don't look your age. You definitely don't look your age, but you've gotten to the point where you've gotten older and every old man that you play golf with, whether he hits a driver, whether he hits a 7-iron, it's not very far, but it's straight down the middle.
Straight. And everything I hit today was straight. And a few times it actually helped our team.
Did you make some putts?
No, I didn't putt worth a crap.
How was the short game? Wasn't very good, was it?
Approaching the green was not bad. The putting, I did nothing to help the team. Now, I will say this. I had to leave early, and I didn't see anybody crying about it. Just to be honest.
Just to be honest, how many teams did Rudy have out there doing that?
I'm guessing somewhere in the mid-20s.
Yeah,
it was a really good crowd. It was out at Temple Hills, which is a beautiful course that I have no business playing.
Yeah.
But man, the weather was great. I don't know what happened. Last night I went out walking and it was like they turned on a furnace. And yet today it was beautiful.
I've been proud of you, man. Those words that I've hit you kind of hit you hard, and you've been out walking.
Yeah.
I like it, man. Do you walk pretty consistently?
I try to. Yeah, but lately not as good as I should have been.
I tell people all the time they think you're really soft when you tell people that the best exercise you can do is to walk.
Mm-hmm.
My college coach, he used to jog all the time. Jogging is one of the worst things you can do for your body because God did not design us that way. He made us to either walk or sprint for our food, which we don't have to do that anymore.
No.
But when people jog, you just have so many joint problems in the knees and the ankles because you're putting so much pounding on that. I just refuse to run. But walking that's where it's at.
Later in the show, Kelly, we'll do a segment where I'm going to talk a little bit about going up to Cincinnati because it's one of the most amazing baseball trips I've ever taken. There normally is a huge difference between regular season baseball and postseason. And what I witnessed Friday night in Cincinnati was postseason in June. And you know what? Even though the Braves didn't win, I was really happy for the people in Cincy. That was a big deal.
The Braves got 2 out of 3 from them.
They did. I was gone by then.
Yeah, they snapped their winning streak and they got 2 out of 3. But I would say because of the storied tradition that they had with the Big Red Machine back in the day, those people are just itching for something, cannot wait for something that's happening right now. And you see some of these guys on SportsCenter talking on ESPN. They're confident, they believe in themselves, and that's what you have to do. They've got all these young guys that are playing well, so there's a lot to look forward to in the city of Cincinnati when it pertains to baseball.
Bingo. So Billy is on vacation this week. My guess is he'd like to extend it to a month, but not so fast. He'll be back next week. So David Wilson is in charge, wearing a Nashville Sound shirt. What kind of like instructions did he leave you?
Don't 4-letter word, cuss word, it up. That's what he said. Don't mess it up.
Really?
So he said that, but he's got all the confidence in the world in me. He was just joking around. He's enjoying his vacation. He said it's the first time his family as a whole has been able to take a vacation in years. So they're excited down there in PCB to have some fun.
Okay, good. So you're handling the update.
He had a few inputs in it as well. We talked about it. You know, he still wants to be a part of the show even when he's gone. So he had a little.
Did you get the feeling that I did while I was gone?
He said you did better today because he was so bad at it that you had some input at that while he was gone.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I say, David, what you need to do is you need to tell Billy to just relax in the Redneck Riviera and don't worry about it. You got it.
I told him to go. I told him to put on some sunscreen. That's what Kelly wants you to do, and don't come back like a lobster.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's fair to say Billy is, shall we say, fair-skinned.
He's very fair-skinned.
Fair-skinned as opposed to me, the, olive whatever.
Greek heritage. That's what Kelly likes to say.
Yes, well, that's a nice way of getting to it.
Yeah. So Billy wants to start with the College World Series.
Does he now?
Florida absolutely hammered LSU last night, 24-4, forcing a winner-take-all Game 3 tonight at 6 p.m. on ESPN. Florida with a 6-run top of the third to help propel them to victory. Jack Caglione and Ty Evans each had multiple home runs. Kelly mentioned to me before the show, Ty Evans has 5 home runs in this College World Series.
Yeah.
Tonight, it's going to be Jack Caglione probably taking the ball for Florida. He's been their number 3 all year. But the real question is for LSU, when does Paul Skeens come in to pitch?
And here's what I think happens. I think LSU's head coach probably went to him this morning and said, look, I need an honest answer because the honest answer may decide if we win the national title. If I need in the 7th inning to call on you to shut the door for the next 2 or 3 innings, are you capable? And he's looking for an honest answer, Kelly, from that guy who may well be the number 1 pick in the baseball draft. Even though yesterday got out of hand, these two teams are really evenly matched. Tonight's likely to be a really tense, tight game, and Skeens and what he can or can't do may determine whether LSU ends up being the national champion.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking what David said earlier. I think if you're Florida, you want to jump on them quick, so that makes him make a decision to maybe put him in. So I'm sure you're probably right, George. I'm sure he went up to him. He does not want to, obviously, it's a national championship, but he does not want to interfere with the rest of his career. So I heard yesterday that he hadn't. This will be his 3rd day rest. So I don't know what all the rules are in college with the pitch count and all that stuff, but he's the guy that gives them the best chance to win. And I feel like a little bit of what Tony Basilio has been talking about. The bullpen has been really good up until yesterday, and yesterday they were not, and they got hammered. So all those moves that Coach Johnson's been making yesterday, it didn't happen. So I'm sure that he's hoping that does not linger over into today's game. But I could see him, just like Kyle Peterson talked about, maybe starting somebody and see how it's going and then run him out to the bullpen to get him ready. What kind of psychological game would that play on the Florida Gators? But the other kid that's pitching for Florida, he seems kind of erratic sometimes. I know he can throw it. He's a lefty. Obviously, he can hit, he can field, and he can pitch. But the last game, he was kind of erratic, and he got it together. So it's going to be interesting to see how he pitches tonight as well.
Yeah, here's the nugget that Billy wanted to throw in, and this was with Tennessee baseball, who got eliminated earlier last week, rather. Chase Burns is reportedly going to enter the transfer portal, and that the two schools that are the favorites to land him are TCU and the hometown Vanderbilt. Now, remember, Burns played locally at Beach High School up in Gallatin, so this would be a big arm in the transfer portal. You got to know a lot of programs are going to be knocking on his door with NIL money. He has not ruled out returning to Tennessee, but that's a big name in the portal. That's an ace and a future first-round pick sitting there for somebody to scoop him up.
Okay, when you hear the words, and let me see if I get this right, has not closed the door on returning. Now, the cynical old goat in me says that what he is doing is telling Tennessee need to up the ante a little bit. Now, that may not be what it is, but the cynical piece of me believes that is what it is. Because if I'm telling a radio station, for instance, look, I'm leaving, but I'm open to returning, doesn't that sound like I'm saying, give me a little more scratch?
Well, the Coach Donnelly and me, when he tells me that he's entered the transfer portal, he's not coming back to my team. I don't know how that goes, and I don't know if there's any. I've talked about loyalty before. There's not much loyalty in sports anymore, and if he can win games for you, which he's obviously shown that he can, I don't know if a coach cares nowadays. Me, I care, and when he does that, I'm not letting him back, George. That's just maybe that's the wrong way to look at things, but I think you're absolutely right. He's wanting more money because he played really well. As a middle reliever, he played really well in the College World Series. He knows that people want him. So I think you're absolutely right, but not coming back on my team.
Here's the bottom line. In the next 12 months, Congress has got to step in and stop this madness. It is totally out of control.
Yep.
College athletics is going to hell in a handbasket right now, and something has got to give.
Yep. I agree.
Anyway,
you know LSU is going to be on that list of teams that's going to pony up some money. But could you imagine him going to Vanderbilt after being at Tennessee? That'll be interesting. I know we'll ask Tony about that tomorrow. Preds news, George. They traded Ryan Johansen this weekend to Colorado. Got Alex Gallenchuk back on return. Johansen's been with the Preds since 2015-16 season, where they traded for him when they sent out Seth Jones. So he's 30 years old, had 12 goals last year in 55 games. The Predators will retain 50% of his salary, which had 2 years left at $8 million. But the Preds will save some money because Colorado's taking half. They now have $19.5 million in salary space for upcoming free agency.
Mark McGee will join us in about 5 minutes. The only question left is, can Barry Trotz pull off this same miracle and get rid of Matt Duchene? If he can, God bless him. He's a miracle worker, because I didn't think he could get Johansen out of here. This is one of the two trouble areas. I mean, Barry had done everything but say he was trying to do this when he spoke at our Sports Speaker Series now, 2 months ago. So anyway, move on there.
NHL Draft is coming to town this week. Actually, you mentioned tonight the award ceremony taking place down at Bridgestone Arena. Dirk Bentley will be hosting that. Tomorrow, the Predators are holding their 25th anniversary block party down on Broadway. Wednesday, first round of the 2023 NHL Draft. Chicago has the first overall pick. Nashville has 2 picks in the first round, pick number 15 and 24. But there's been rumors circulating this past weekend that Barry Trotz wants to move up into the back half of the top 10. We've heard from pick 5 to 7. He's got some players he's targeting down through there. And then on Thursday, the remainder of the draft will take place.
So, Kelly, he was out here Thursday for a few minutes, and I cornered him and I said, look, no, it was Wednesday. I said, look, I'm going on vacation. Don't you make any trades while I'm gone. and he looks at me, he goes, oh, we haven't got anybody wants, and then breaks into this big grin. I am convinced that Barry Trotz has figured it all out, and Guy and I are going to talk about this, and Kelly, in a few minutes. This is going to be a very good week in Nashville Predator hockey. If you care about this team, I think we're going to come away feeling a lot better 7 days from now.
Man, it certainly sounds like he's very aggressive at what he's trying to do. He's not waiting around for stuff, and that everybody's saying that was a bad trade, but he saved salary cap space. So that's looked like what he wants to do, and he wants to keep those young guys intact that played really well last year.
Yeah. I'm shocked he was able to find a taker.
Kelly said he was watching the NASCAR race at Nashville Superspeedway last night on NBC, so I'll throw it in the update. Ross Chastain wins the Ally 400, third career win for Trackhouse Racing, and it's really cool because Trackhouse owner Justin Marks is from Nashville, lives in the area, so that's really cool for the hometown team. Chastain gets the checkered flag. Martin Truex and Denny Hamlin 2 and 3. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson finished 4th and 5th. Did you watch the race last night, George?
I got to admit I didn't.
You didn't watch the Ally 400, huh?
You want me to be honest?
No.
I got a free meal.
That's shocking because you're not going out by yourself without a free meal. That's for sure.
And then when I got home, I turned on the very end after I went and had my little walk in the furnace. I watched the end of the Dodger-Astro game, which was a classic. So I got to admit, I didn't see it.
Kelly, you said that you enjoyed it, though. You thought it was a pretty good race last night, and the crowd was phenomenal. The weather was great. I know we were worried about rain all weekend. The sun was shining. There was not a cloud in the sky last night up in Lebanon.
I did. It was like I told you. I remember when they shut that racetrack down. So it's amazing that it's awesome that they've opened it back up off 840, and it's cool to have a NASCAR race and all kind of races here. You know, we obviously got the Music City Grand Prix coming, but that's just something that I've never really gotten into NASCAR. I've always, since I've been to Indianapolis, I was an IndyCar guy, and those races are exciting. That, like you said, that thing was sold out. It was elbow to elbow last night. So I'd be interesting. I know you couldn't tell me earlier, David, but I'd be interesting how many people they can pack into that place. Yeah,
the grandstands were absolutely full. There was campers all around the backstretch.
That's great.
Michael Jordan was there Saturday night having a good time. So Nashville, I think next year is the last race on the contract. They're trying to get it back down to the fairgrounds downtown. But Nashville is a market for NASCAR. They're going to keep on coming here as long as you're selling it out.
Yep.
Michael asked to meet with me, and I just wasn't able to this time.
Last thing, George, your Braves take 2 out of 3 up in Cincinnati. Key roster move happened today, though. A.J. Smith-Salvier has been optioned back to AAA. Their bullpen got absolutely decimated this weekend because the starters couldn't go deep in the games. Derek Rodriguez, who's the son of Pudge Rodriguez, called up for the Braves, will be in the bullpen tonight. But that opens the door on Wednesday for a spot start. And the rumor is that Michael Soroka will take the ball Wednesday at Truist Park for the first time since his injury. That'll be a 12:10 p.m. start.
Yeah, and obviously I'll be watching. Anyway, we'll talk. I know. We'll talk a little bit about what I saw in Cincinnati. But first, after the break, Mark McGee is going to join us to talk Predator hockey. I believe before this is over, before the week is out, that a Predator fan is going to be ecstatic because I think Barry Trotz has figured it all out and he is all systems go. We'll talk with Mark about that when we come back. Stay tuned.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. Well, those of us who are Predator season ticket holders who go to a lot of games have known since the season was over that there were a couple of moves that, you know, we'd like to see happen. The moving of Ryan Johansen, the trade of Matt Duchene, the problem being that they were getting paid way more money than anybody would see their current market value to be. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, Saturday, Barry Trotz pulls it off to get rid of Ryan Johansen, send him to Colorado, Preds picking up half of the salary. So with all of this as a backdrop, I've asked Mark McGee to join us to talk about all this. Gee, how are you?
I'm doing great, George. How was your golf game today?
You know, it was better than normal. The word I normally use is rancid, which means it smells bad. Today wasn't half bad. I really had a good time.
Oh, good. That's good. Those lessons are paying off.
There haven't been any lessons.
No lessons, Mark.
No lessons.
You should have some then.
Thank you.
I agree 100%.
So, Guy, it sure looks like Barry Trotz has figured the whole thing out that, okay, here are the little problem children that this franchise has been dealing with, and now he's openly trying to get rid of them. Tell me your take.
Well, they've been working on this deal for Johansen for like 2 weeks, that I understand. So it's a good move for the Predators because it opens up some salary cap. I think they now have like $19.3 million available right now from that standpoint. Trying to move somebody like Johansen or Duchene, what makes it tough, of course, their salaries are high, and most teams are really at the border, well, not at the border, but at the edge of the salary caps at this moment. So it's hard to move a big salary, even if the guy's good or playing well. It's hard to move a big salary. Johansen brings the Avalanche wants Johansen to be their number 2 center. I don't know whether that can happen or not. I mean, he's got that foot injury from the skate blade. He didn't play he got hurt in February. Didn't play the rest of the season. We have played in the playoffs. I don't know, but and he had a really subpar season for a lot of reasons. The injury was one of them, but after having a really good year the year before, so he's a question mark. A lot of people are wondering, even at $4 million, if the Avalanche got a good deal from a salary standpoint. That's up to be seen. But now, Alex Heingoek, another forward center, played mostly in the AHL with the Colorado Eagles last season because he is coming up. He's rehabbing from an injury situation as well. He played 11 games with the Avalanche and had no points. This is like his 7th team in 11 seasons. He was #1 draft pick in 2012 for Montreal, and I think this is going to be like his 7th team he's played on. So he's been a true journeyman from that standpoint. Actually played for the Coyotes, Arizona Coyotes twice. He's been in Arizona, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Ottawa, Toronto, and Colorado. All have been on his list of teams. He's got a great collection of jerseys right now.
So, Guy, let's go with just simply, I don't know, common sense. If he was looking to move Johansen, the likelihood is he's trying to get rid of Matt Duchene as well. What are you hearing on that front? Do you think there is anybody even remotely close to being willing to take him?
You would thought maybe the Avalanche might have wanted him back. So I don't know I don't know how close. I've not heard any talk about him right now from anybody, but this was a big move right here. This is part of the rebuilding. This is part of the rebuilding situation. Tommy Novak came in and played extremely well when Johansen was hurt, and Parson, and also as a center that could that was a prospect that could profit from Johansen being gone. So, and this was one of those deals where the Avalanche didn't give up anything because Johansen was already an unrestricted free agent. So they technically lost nothing in the deal. And if Barry had pushed to get somebody to take the whole $8 million contract, then he was going to have to give up a prospect or two, and maybe a draft pick or two. So he made his move. It's only costing the team $4 million a year. So in a way, that was it definitely was a bargain for him to unload a large salary. And a problem, Johansen was known for being quite a lazy player, which caused him to have a lot of penalties. And so you're missing that now as well. So it was probably about as good a deal as Barry could come up with, I would think.
So now, Guy, I'm hearing, and I'm surprised by this, I'm hearing UC Saros' name come up. Now, in February,
yeah,
I was all for the trading of UC Saros because I thought it was the haul that was needed to kickstart. But now I've changed my mind and said, wait a minute, I've seen these young kids with great goaltending. They can be a force. Tell me they're not moving UC Saros.
Well, his name keeps on popping up. I'm like you. I'm now thinking that's not a good move to make. But the goalie market's pretty strong this year. There are a lot of goalies. I think there's over 30 goalies available right now. So I don't know what kind of a market there would be for him. But I think right now that would not be a great move to make.
So I guess I'm curious, what do you think has gotten the whole UC thing kicked back up?
I think just the fact that, like you say, you can get a big haul of prospects, maybe even you get a major star probably, and they still need a #1 center. I mean, they need a center that's going to score a lot of points and that's dependable. And they never had that. If Saros can bring them that type of player, then that'd be great.
Kelly, you're hearing all this. If you've got some questions for Mark, fire away.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that it seems like we see kind of the general manager that Barry Trotz is going to be. He's been pretty aggressive, and he seems like he's wanting to move up in the draft. If he does move up in the draft, are you hearing anything about who he might take?
The first 5 picks are pretty set. After that, it's hard to say because this is a really deep draft. David Poyle has always been great at predicting what drafts are going to be like in the future. And so he really was able to add a lot for this year and for next year as well. They've got a lot of draft picks in the first 3 rounds, 2 in the first round this year, I think 2 in the second round this year. And so, they could easily package something to move up, but the top 5 guys are pretty much set. After that, you just shake them up, but there's a lot of deep talent. There's a lot of deep talent in this draft, so I don't think you can go wrong in the first round. You've been deep into it.
I know that George keeps talking about the Matt Duchene, but do you see any more trades coming?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Duchene would be the big one right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe something happens at the draft. All your general managers are there. They're all talking. They're all meeting, that type of thing. So I would be shocked if something came up from that standpoint. And that would kind of really, in some ways, put a stamp on the rebuilding situation a little bit, because you get rid of Johansen and Duchene both. That would be a huge showing that you're wanting to change directions and wanting to make this team a better team. I think Barry is going to be aggressive. I think he's already showing that to a large extent, and he fired the coach, and he gets rid of one of the bigger players on the team with a bigger contract. So he's not shy about making moves, that's for sure.
No, it sounds like that. And then I was looking at earlier to, I don't know anything about this, but Pastorini obviously used to be a goalie for you guys and for the Preds, and it seems like Barry Trotz is trying to keep him around too. He's the European developmental coach, and now he's a scout. So is that a big, obviously the European players are huge, but is that a big spot for Pastorini?
Rene's a great asset to the franchise. I mean, he's one of the better guys on the team, and he keeps somebody. It's kind of a trend right now to keep players around as much as possible. Patrick Marleau's going back to the San Jose Sharks in player development for them. He was a longtime Sharks player. It's tending to be a situation where a lot of former players are being brought back into the fold with the teams they played for the bulk of their careers. And so Rene doing this is kind of part of a trend that's going on from that standpoint. So.
Yeah. So if my last question here, George. So if you were Barry Trotz, and I don't know if you've kept up with it, I'm sure you do because you love it, but I don't know if you kept up with it that close. But what would you do? Would you draft up? And if you traded up, I mean, who would you get if you were in his spot? Who is the guy that you would take?
Well, the one everybody would like to take is Connor Bedard. He's going to be the number 1 pick for sure. So after that, like I said, it's could be a little bit interesting as to who comes next. The top 5, I think should be pretty much set, but Bedard's the one that everybody wants. He is a generational type player, and he's going to. Looks like I think the Blackhawks are probably going to take him. That's going to really make them a stronger team from that standpoint. So, Adam Fantilli from Michigan is a forward that's really exciting. Leo Carlson. It's another forward that's very exciting. So there's a lot of good guys out there. And it's a pretty deep draft overall, that's for sure. And especially if you want skill and speed, it's huge from that standpoint. If you want skill and speed, but Bedard stands above all of them. He is definitely going to be the number 1 pick. There'll be no surprise about that for sure.
Guy, I'm going to ask you one more that you may throw up your hands and just say, George, I don't know. I don't have the answer to this, but here goes. So somewhere in here, Barry Trotz figured out, and I have a suspicion he figured it out way before he ever spoke to us in April, that Johansen was a problem, and he knows Duchene's a problem. At some point, he had to go to some level of ownership and say, look, let's get real about it. Nobody is going to take these 2 off our hands. They're both making about $8 million a year. We're going to have to pay some of it. And somebody in ownership had to say to Barry, you're the man. If that's what you think has to be done, do it. Who was the person that gave him the go-ahead?
Yeah, that's a speculation, but I say Haslam probably.
That's what I think. Go a little farther with that.
Well, I think Bill Haslam. I mean, he's the new face of the franchise, and he wants the franchise to be good because he's put a lot of money into it. And so I think he's pretty much telling Barry, whatever you need to do it. And I think he's probably the one that's saying that, because he wants his money's worth out of the team. And right now, I mean, this team's supposedly rebuilding, but in some ways, it's maybe just resetting itself a little bit because all these young guys have had such great years last year. I don't think this team's got a long way to go to making it back into the playoffs and even making it past the first round.
So, Guy, try this one on for size, and then we'll go. I don't believe for a minute that Barry Trotz just rolled into Nashville and discovered that, Johansen's a little bit of an issue. Duchesne's a big problem. I mean, this is a well-known league-wide secret that these two have been little problem childs, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
well, and Barry's up in an owner's box, not owner's box, but one of the luxury boxes for a large part of the season. A lot of people didn't even know he was up there, and he was watching this team firsthand. I'm sure he was sitting around talking to David Poyle, talking to John Hines, anybody else he could talk to about what these guys were like.
So do you think he accepted this job with the clear understanding at the time he accepted it, this is what I'm going to have to do. You've got to approve this or I can't really make this work?
Well, I think they asked him what he thought should be done. And that's why I would have asked him in an interview. Okay, Barry, you've been coaching forever. You've been around expansion teams. You've been around established teams. You won a Stanley Cup. What does this team need to do to have a Stanley Cup ring? I think you ask him that question, and he gives you the answer, and then he says, "Okay, this is what I think should be done. You have the guts to do it."
Got it. Guy, see you later tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time. By the way, did you get my message?
Thank you. I did, yes.
Okay.
Right at the needle.
Yes. See you tonight at
All right,
6:45.
Sounds good. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, Mark McGee with some interesting stuff that to me is behind the scenes what has been going on. And what I really like, Kelly, what has me excited, number one, I don't have any doubt Barry Trotz has figured this whole thing out. He knows exactly where all of this is. He's being very aggressive. It appears to me that ownership must have told him, you do whatever you think needs to be done. And by the end of the week, I think we'll all know that for sure. I'm excited as a Preds fan.
Well, that's what I was about to say. It seems like it's going to be an exciting time. It seems like he obviously knows what he's doing, what he wants. He obviously got that in a coach. I think it's pretty exciting to get Coach Brunette in there, and he's obviously won. He was obviously an interim coach. He won with a team. He took them to a second round of the playoffs, got playoff experience as a head coach. You got good young talent on the team. You just got, as you say, you got rid of one of your problems, and maybe they'll get rid of the other problem. And if they can do that and do some things in the draft, I think it could be. I think you could be setting the groundwork for a long ride with this young group of guys, young group of talented guys that are hungry, that want to get in there, and they want to play. And it could be some good years for Nashville coming up.
That's what I think. Okay, after the break, we'll talk about Ferris Bueller's trip to Cincinnati, which was an absolute blast. But first, I want to piggyback on what went on last night. So there's a lot of racing going on in this community, and there's a ton of interest. NASCAR knows it. The Music City Grand Prix people know it. Their event is now, 5-6 weeks away? And the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is here. August the 4th through the 6th. I'm excited about it. I've never been to a Grand Prix. But boy, I've heard a bunch of you who are in the same boat as me who had never been, who have said, Plaz, this is one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. There's great music over those 3 days. Man, have they put it all together. And the tickets are on sale right now, and that's my job here to let you know about that. Go to musiccitygp.com. Tickets starting as low as general admission and working all the way up into some really cool amenities if you so desire. Again, musiccitygp.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the trip that I took late last week up to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I have always believed, is a great baseball town that lacked really good ownership. Their ownership, I think, has been very cheap, and I think it'll really be an interesting thing to watch at the trade deadline. This team is good enough to win this division. The National League Central is just not very strong, and Cincinnati looks as good, if not better, than any of them. But they've got some pitching holes, and the question is their ownership willing to commit to help this team and get them the starting pitching help they need? Kelly, that said, I've been up to Cincinnati the last 3 or 4 years when the Braves go up there. And, to use my line, you could hide Patty Hearst in the upper deck because there's never anybody up there. There's not been a lot of support in what I believe is a great baseball market. Well, all of a sudden, the Reds in the last 2.5, 3 weeks have caught fire, and they've caught fire with a bunch of young guys, one of them being former University of Tennessee player Nick Senzel. They got a bunch of guys that if you don't pay a lot of attention to baseball, you're like, who is Jake Fraley? Who is so-and-so? Who is Kevin Newman? Never heard of half these people. But they are playing lights out, and they're playing young, enthusiastic baseball. And so I go up there this weekend. They sell out all 3 games, drew over 130,000. The Reds can lie about this all they want, but I would contend they sold 2,500 standing room only tickets when I was there Friday night. Kelly, it's the tightest sellout I have ever seen in a regular season game. I was down the third base line, right on the third base bag, about 20 rows up. And when I looked over in the 7th inning to the other side of the stadium, and I pointed this out to some people, I said, find me one empty seat. You couldn't find one. So the game turned out to be a classic. First of all, there were 9 homers hit in the game. Joey Votto hit one that should have ended up in the Ohio River. I mean, it was mashed. Then in the 8th inning, when the Braves are trying to rally, Austin Riley hit the longest ball I've ever seen hit to left center in that park. It was an absolute missile. I've never seen a ball hit that well. This kid, Ellie De La Cruz for Cincinnati, sort of the Ronald Acuna of that franchise. He hit for the cycle by like the 6th inning. I mean, the question is not, what did I see? The question is, what didn't I see? It was incredible. Yeah, my team lost. I'm sorry. But deep down, I'm kind of happy for the people in Cincinnati. They deserve this.
Well, it's like the old montage of Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And that's obviously what's happening. We just talked about the Predators and all these young guys that I think's got a big, huge future for the Predators. It seems like the same thing's going on in Cincinnati with this. The De La Cruz guy just got there, didn't he? He hadn't been there very long, has he not?
Been there less than a month, David.
Yeah,
He's been in the league for 15 days and has already hit for the cycle. 15 days.
That's wild, man. That is, but you never, George, you never really see that in today's sports, though. There's not a lot of sellouts at many baseball parks. You watch these games and you see a lot of empty seats, and that had to be something when you see that with all the things that Cincinnati's gone through with not winning games, and then this team right here has got this, got this city energetic. They're ready to see some baseball and ready to see some winning baseball, and I think. Just listening to these young guys talk, I said it earlier, but just listening to them talk, seems like they believe in themselves, and that's what you have to do when you're playing professional sports.
Now, here's where I'm going to go off the grid a little bit. When I can remember when the Predators and the Titans, it looked like were coming. And as a sports talk show host, I had a lot of people discussing, does the city have enough people interested? Does it have enough companies that'll support? And invariably, you would get a professor from some school who would tell you that sports does not have, it does not have a positive economic impact on a city, which I think is total hogwash.
Total.
And if I get away with a worse word, I'd use it. And I've always made the joke, a lot of these professors haven't been out in the sun in the last 30 years and have no idea. They sit behind a computer and they have all their little studies. Well, okay, fine. Here's one for you. I will just admit, when the game was over, I went to the casino. And I'm here to tell you, Kelly, that the casino was probably double full of what I have ever seen when I've ever been up there after a game. Okay, this is not the first time I have visited that casino, which is within walking distance of the ballpark. And I would love to take one of these professors who tells me that, it has no economic impact. That is such a load of crap. Because I'm telling you, that casino that night, there was an economic impact because the Reds have been on fire.
I don't know how anybody could say that looking at you with a straight face. Like, does he understand where all these salaries are coming from? Where you get, you're bringing something to a community that obviously brings sponsorships, brings big companies into. I don't understand anything about that. Now, when you went to the casino, what is your game of choice? I mean, are you a slots guy? Are you a blackjack guy? What are you?
Blackjack.
You're a blackjack guy, huh? Are you pretty
I
good
can
at it?
count to 21.
Are you pretty good at it?
Well, let me put it this way. Okay. I have not brought any of these places to their knees. When they bring the tray with all the money, I'm always a smart aleck enough to go, look to me like there was plenty of chips here already. Can you tell me why we're stopping the game? And, but yeah,
so they're not giving you a plane ride there, and they're not putting you up in the Taj Mahal up on the 52nd floor and giving you some chips where you can bet with. They're not doing that for you, huh?
No, but it was really interesting to see, because I turned to a friend of mine and I said, don't ever believe that a winning team doesn't have an economic impact in downtown. Right now, for instance, I've been to St. Louis in the last 10 days. The Cardinals are way down, and you can kind of feel it downtown a little bit because their downtown is really dependent on the Cardinals' success. The Reds, it's been a while since they've been any good. And all of a sudden, Friday night was like the breakout night. Largest crowd probably in that stadium's history, because they announced a crowd of 1,500 more than their capacity. I will tell you one funny thing. The Reds fans have a sense of humor. They have, in their postgame is done on the concourse. And you have to walk up the steps toward that concourse to get out. And of course, all these people are trying to get on TV, and they break out doing the tomahawk chop. And it was hilarious. I mean, I got to admit, I got a big chuckle out of it.
Was there a lot of Braves fans there?
There were a ton. There were probably, on the third base side, I would say 4 big sections from dugout down to the left field foul pole on the lower level of Braves fans. There were a lot, but obviously there were also a ton of Reds fans.
Do you think let me ask you a baseball question. Do you think the Braves fans are do you think they have the most fans? Obviously, I remember growing up watching them on TBS every weekend. Ted Turner started all that way back in the day, and they got every game on TBS. So do you think they have a lot of fans, most of their fans from that age? Would they have the majority of fans that go to games if you're talking baseball fans traveling?
No, it's probably still Yankees, and the Yankee thing is phony. It's just simply people jumping on a bandwagon. They're the winners, and so we're Yankee fans. And look, there's a part of me that says, look, I was a Braves fan when they sucked, when they were an embarrassment.
I remember those days.
Yeah, when you see old film footage of Atlanta Stadium, Atlanta Braves in the 70s, and, they couldn't get grass to grow and the field looked like crap. I was a Braves fan. So I have no problem. I'm not some bandwagon. I didn't just jump on a bandwagon. But there's a lot of phoniness that started with TBS, where a lot of people came out of the woodwork because it was the only team they got to see.
Right.
And that's starting to happen again because they're really good. But I'm telling you, this weekend, to take 2 out of 3, it about tore them up. Their pitching staff is in shambles because they had to go to the bullpen 1,500 times. There must have been 25 homers hit in that series.
Seems like the Braves have had a lot of consistency as managers too, because they had Bobby Cox forever, and now they got the Snitker guy. And it seems like everybody loves that guy. I had a guy that played in the minors for him, and he said he's such an outstanding guy. And it seems like the whole organization and the Atlanta Braves fans love that guy. So, they don't have much turnover in that place when it comes to managerial stuff.
I asked Jeff Francoeur several years ago, because Jeff played for him in Mississippi, and I said, "Why do you love him so much?" And his answer just stopped me cold. He said, "The same reason you love C.M. Newton." And I was like, wow, if you feel that way about him, that's pretty good.
I think a lot of guys feel that way about him, because I can still call up my guy. And even when he was he wasn't the coach, but he was one of the bench coaches, my buddy would call, and he would get him tickets all the time, and seems like a great guy. So I think that when you have stuff like that, where guys have been in a place for a long time, you have some of that in place, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's when you can do something as an organization. It seems like Atlanta is, they're really good.
After the break, we're going to get knee deep into football, even though we're in June. We'll have stat of the day. Then we will have Kelly's World of Football. And then at the bottom of the hour, we'll get into something that is near and dear to both Kelly and me. The Titans had I guess you would call it a memorial service on Saturday for the late Bob Hyde, who we were both very close with our association with the National Football Foundation. The Titans did an incredible job with this service. It was really classy. One of the eulogizers was former Houston Oiler great quarterback Dan Pastorini. He will join us at 3:30 to share some of his thoughts. A lot more coming on the show. Stay tuned.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. It is time for Stat of the Day on this Reaction Monday. Stat of the Day presented to you by the good folks at John English Antique Sports and Cards, located in Shelbyville, Tennessee. 204 East Depot Street is where you can find them. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So give them a call at 931-492-4304. I've been saving this one since the draft took place on Thursday night. Thought this will be a good one for Kelly and George to stump them. Victor Wembanyama is considered one of the greatest rookie prospects in NBA history. Simple question. Can you name the last rookie to make first team All-NBA in their rookie year?
Oh, yes. Silence.
Last rookie to make first team All-NBA.
When you
in their
hear
rookie
silence,
year.
that is us saying we haven't got a clue.
That's
Kelly,
really what it boils down to.
Do you have a clue?
I mean, MJ, I mean, I couldn't. I don't know if it goes back that far. Would it go back that far, David?
90s.
Look, I'm tossing one out on a limb. Is it Kobe?
It is not Kobe.
Well, hold on. Back in the background, Butch, if you think you have an answer, shout it out. Shaq.
It is not Shaq.
Yeah,
Well,
Bong, whoever that was.
Yeah.
Sorry. I got to remember which one it is. There we go.
Okay.
So it's
So
not
we
MJ.
have that back
It's not,
now.
it's
too.
not MJ.
It is not MJ.
Okay, so
Surprised you didn't say LeBron. It's not LeBron either, but
Well, you said 90. So who did he play for?
you might want to take a look at the hat on the young man's head.
Oh, Tim Duncan.
It is Tim Duncan. It was 97. The
Wow.
last time a rookie made first team All-NBA. I think he was one of the only rookies to ever make an NBA team since that point. So it's really hard.
yeah.
LeBron was rookie of the year and averaged 22 points and like 8 rebounds and didn't make an All-NBA team. So it's really hard. Interesting.
How many rings?
Okay.
How many rings? How many guys? How many rings did Tim Duncan win with the Spurs?
It should be 5.
5. Wow.
5.
5.
And he could have had another one if Ray Allen doesn't sink that corner 3. Could have been 6.
And if you punch your SAP button, Cinco.
George, back in the day, did you ever think Tim Duncan would turn out to be that kind of a pro?
No, not really.
Watching him at Wake Forest, did you ever believe that?
No.
Me neither.
That shows you, though, that growth spurts and get with the right team and so much stuff can change it.
Timing.
You know,
man.
when I hear all this can't miss stuff,
Yeah.
you know, so and so can't miss.
Okay.
Well,
Kiss of death.
can't misses sometimes miss.
It's true. That's why I don't ever say that.
Yeah, and like tomorrow, this young guy, Connor Bedard, will apparently be out here at the Ford Ice Center in the morning. And he's considered, quote, a generational talent. Now, I don't know. Nobody ever said to me, George, in broadcasting, you're a generational talent. Nobody has ever come close to saying that. What kind of pressure would that put on a young guy?
That's what I was about to say, George. Danny and myself talk about it all the time on Thursdays. The expectations. Can he live up to those expectations? Because everybody's got him up here on this pedestal, and if he's not tough mentally and he goes in, because he's going to struggle. There's nobody that goes into professional sports that's not going to struggle, and you have to have a good surrounding cast to help you, family members, organizational people like Greg Popovich with this big Victor Wembanyama guy. I mean, you've got to have a good support. Yeah, you've got to have a good support system, and if you're not ready to handle that, man, being a first pick of the draft, there's a lot of expectations on you, and it's hard sometimes to live up to that.
I'm glad you said that, Kelly, because that makes me think of LeBron James going to his hometown Cavaliers team. He's on Sports Illustrated as a high school kid saying you're the savior of the franchise, you're the next thing, and to actually live up to the hype and win championships and be one of the best players in league history. That says a lot about LeBron and what he was able to accomplish over the course of his career. And
came back to Cleveland and won a championship for those guys, which is just it's kind of amazing. I can remember when he was in high school and having guys on my Cleveland Browns ball team saying, hey, you want to go down here and watch this kid? I never went, but a bunch of them would go down there and watch him play basketball, and they said, dude, he's unbelievable.
Kelly, on the baseball side, in the mid-'80s, the Braves had a young guy named Brad Kamensk who was considered the next Hank Aaron.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it didn't really work out that way. And by 1993, Brad Kamensk, on his way down, was a Nashville Sound. And I got to meet him and talk to him about all of it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, can you imagine the enormous pressure that gets put on a young guy in his 20s when the rest of the world says, there's no way you can miss.
Right.
And you miss. And
it's kind of like that guy out there in Oakland, Billy Bean, kind of like him. He was a big, he was one of those can't miss guys too. And he just never made it. You just never know. That's what I'm saying. You never really know. Like Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. Nobody thought much of him. He gets his opportunity when Drew Bledsoe gets hurt. And then nobody even thinks about Drew Bledsoe anymore. Now we're talking about Tom Brady being the best quarterback in the National Football League ever. Guy's won 7 Super Bowls. He's been to 10, which is it was like Joe Montana was the guy that went to 4 and won 4, but like 4 was kind of you had Terry Bradshaw. Yeah, you had Terry Bradshaw doing the same thing, and that was kind of the ceiling. And then Tom Brady comes along and he just surpasses everyone, and he's a 6th round pick, and nobody wanted him. So you just never know how that's going to turn out, George. You never know who's going to be a great player, who's going to be a bust. And I don't get into that. I'm like you. I don't get into that can't miss deal, because when you say that, you're putting on an arrow on your back. You're putting a big bullseye on your chest. And, man, that's a lot to live up to.
Was Ryan Leaf considered one of those guys? I wasn't alive yet.
No, he wasn't. I don't think he was I don't think they ever said anything about him being a generational talent, but he was a good player in college, and just the enormous pressure that he was under being behind Peyton. He was the 2nd pick of the draft. So the enormous pressure that he was under when he went to the Chargers, it was crazy. I can remember him being in the locker room and shouting at the media because they were coming in and asking him questions, and Junior Seau had to go get him. He just was not willing. He just was not able to handle the kind of pressure that he was put under, and that's what a lot of guys go through.
And yet I remember a lot of people at the time, there was a big debate.
Oh, yeah.
Do you go Leaf, Peyton Manning, or Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf? Now, it's easy. Hindsight is perfect 20/20 vision. But
True.
Back then, I remember very much so. The truth of it is, one of Ryan Leaf's greatest moments as a pro was the Houston, Tennessee Oiler debut at Vanderbilt Stadium, where San Diego beat the Oilers. And he was pretty good that day. But other than that, not much.
I mean, he had a lot of ability. You know that, George. He had a lot of ability.
Sure.
Just couldn't handle it.
He's a
Just could
big
not handle
kid.
it. Yep.
You couldn't tackle him. He was a big old tree trunk. Do you know what time it is, Kelly?
I do.
I mean, this is a big moment.
Would you like to call your own open? How about that?
I'm not going to call my own open. That's not for me to do.
Go ahead, George. He didn't want to go with the program.
Very simply, it's time. It's a moment you have breathlessly awaited. It's time for Kelly Holcomb's World of Football. As shocking as this may sound, Kelly Holcomb's World of Football has sponsors. It's brought to you in part by Baird Financial with Yaz Hassan and Justin Oldham, and by State Farm Insurance, located in Murfreesboro, through agent Celeste Middleton. Okay, couple of things here.
What are we even talking about today on the Kelly's World of Golf? Do we know?
Well,
George?
I'll say this: it'll be better than these golf tees. Thank you. Two big sporting events come to town within 3 weeks of each other. This week it's the NHL Draft, and then in the middle of July, SEC Football Media Days. And I will tell you that at some point in the next 48 hours, I will release exactly what our next Wilson Bank and Trust Sports Speaker Series is about. And I'll tell you now, it will be very SEC Football Media Days.
Okay.
That I can tell you.
All right.
Okay.
You going to go get some big names, dog?
I've already done it.
Oh,
yeah.
Already done it.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I haven't just been at the casino.
You've been working, hadn't you, big dog?
Oh, I mean, just pouring concrete. But in 3 weeks, you know, when the SEC Football Media Days get here, all of a sudden the pressure's going to get ratcheted up again about what are y'all going to do about the schedule? What they basically did was pass the buck. And without saying it, they were saying, we can't agree on anything. Half the league wants 8 games. The other half wants 9 games. He's up there using words I've never heard of before, he being Greg Sankey. And Kelly, I'm convinced that one of the things that's going on behind the scenes is that the SEC is saying to ESPN, look, if we're going to give you a 9th league game, what are you going to give us?
That could be a big one, George. I'm not, I would love to be in those meetings. There's a lot of money that's being thrown around with all that, but you're absolutely right. So I think Nick Saban was the one that was talking about 10 games or 9 games a long time, and now he's gone back to 8 games. I don't know the pros and cons of all that, George. I really don't. I know that they said that if they stayed with 8 games, am I correct on this? They stay with 8 games. They still get their 3 rivalry games. Is that correct?
I believe that's true.
So if you go to 9 games, you only get 1 rivalry game. Is that correct?
I wouldn't swear to that.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Well, that's just, I think I read that. I read that about a month ago when we were talking about this stuff. So the SEC Media Days is kind of like the NFL Combine where guys just meet up and they go drink. You know, I mean, I know
yes,
I know they're getting things done. I understand they're getting things done, but they all want to meet their buddies and all that. But that's a big reason we've talked about it, why they love Nashville, because Nashville's a big city. They have the SEC basketball tournament here as well. They can come up here to a big city in Nashville and they can do their work. And
drinky winky.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the thing that gets me, George, is everybody was going crazy about this 2024 schedule, and we still got the 2023 schedule ahead of us, and nobody wanted to talk about that. You're talking about kicking things down the road. They're more worried about what's happening with Texas and Oklahoma instead of worrying about what's coming up this next year. So it was just kind of odd to me about all that.
Kelly, I don't have any proof of this, but here's my gut feeling, is that Sankey has said to ESPN, it just means more. Pony up, Buttercup. And ESPN has probably said, look, we're paying you enough money as it is, so take that and smoke it. And my guess is right now that both sides are at their neutral corner. ESPN telling the SEC, we're already paying you a buttload of money. And the SEC saying, it just means more. We want more. And I think they're in a little bit of a stalemate, which is the reason that they stuck with 8 games for the moment. Now, here's the other piece of this, Kelly, that nobody ever thinks about. And some of it involves your school. The MTSUs, the North Texases, the UL Monroes, all of them need what you would call a money game.
Yeah, have to.
And the truth of it is that these money games, where they're basically taken off, to slaughter, on a football field near you, that's what funds a lot of these other sports that these schools have. And so they're sitting there going, if they go to 9, we're screwed. And Kelly, I believe that if the SEC ends up going to 9, the UL Monroes, the North Texases, MTSU, whoever you want to throw in there, South Alabama, all of these that need a money game or two, that's going to make the division even worse. And ultimately, what we're going to have before it's all over is the big leagues and then a group that is the minor leagues, except that the minor leagues in this case is pretty darn entertaining and deserves better than what they're getting.
I don't think there's any question about that, George. We talked about that when you were gone with Billy. We brought a guy on there, and I asked him the exact same question. And Coach Donnelly's always talked to me about it. I know people are getting tired of hearing me say that, but it's going to, at some point, be one big conference or 4 big conferences or 5 big conferences. And then what are all these schools like my alma mater, like the Troys of the world, like the Marshalls? What are they going to do? Because you're absolutely right, George, when Middle, because their first game this year is going to play Alabama.
So what is a money game?
Absolutely. It's a money game. It's a money game to help athletics. It's a money game to pay off salaries from coaches. So they're going down there getting paid a lot of money. You have no chance to win the game. I remember when I played against Florida State, they were number 1 in the country. The next year we went out to Nebraska and played those guys too. So we got money from that too. But I just worry about the state of football with all these lower schools, because the teams like Alabama, Ohio State, Tennessee, all these big SEC schools and Big Ten schools, they're going to be fine because they're going to be part of it. But where does football go when you start talking about the smaller tiered schools, the schools like Middle, the schools like Carson Newman, the NAIA schools? What are you going to be able to fund sports and fund football? Because football is the sport that makes the money in these colleges. So that's a really good question, George. And I don't know. It scares me about football because kids are not playing it, but it also scares me with smaller schools like what you're talking about right there. Because I was from a smaller school. I had to go play some of those big schools. I was fortunate enough to go past that, but it worries me about where it's going. It's all about money now. It's become such a big business. You got NIL, you got the transfer portal. The way this thing's heading is just not good for smaller schools, George. It really isn't. To me, that's my opinion.
Kelly, the thing that I think is most disappointing to me, I believe that one of the things that's missing right now in the sports world is somebody who walks into these important rooms and says, I'm here for the good of the game. I'm not just here for the SEC. I'm not here just for the Big Ten. I want to see to it that we strengthen the game for the love of the sport. And I don't ever see that anymore. I just see a bunch of people with their hand out doing this, gimme, gimme, gimme. And I blame, and this may be unfair, but I blame Sankey for some of this, because you think about the turmoil that his accepting Texas and Oklahoma has caused the rest of the college world. Think about it.
Well, George, I was going to say this too when you're talking about the SEC and the ESPN. ESPN can talk all they want to, but the SEC is the game, and they know that. And I think Greg Sankey, he obviously knows that. So they've got a lot of leverage in that. And I'm like you, George. I can remember going to MTSU, and I always bring Coach Donnelly up, but I can remember my college, my quarterback coach, Coach Robbins, still like my dad. I still talk to him every week. And I can remember when he talked about coming into an organization, he talked about one day, because I was having troubles with Coach Donnelly. He was on me. And he said, one day, he told me, one day you'll go and you'll thank him for what he did, because his program was more than football. And it takes you getting out of that from being a young man to growing older and gaining some wisdom to understand that. I don't know if that's going on anymore, George. I really don't. I think that it's become such, if we talked about it all the time, it's become so much money that's what it's become. It's all about that. It's not about, well, hey, I can help a kid, or he's got family issue. It's all about the money. It's all about, can I win? It's all about the next job for guys at like middle. It's all about, can I make it to the NFL? It's just, there's always ulterior motives. And there's nobody genuine like you're talking about, George. Like I'm coming into this thing with all these big schools. I want to help the good of the game from the SEC, the Big Ten, down to the NAIA schools, because that's where you get a lot of situations where these kids are playing football. They're not getting any NIL money. They're not getting any scholarships. They're playing for the love of the game. And that's what's missing, George. And I'm just afraid it's not going in the right direction. I'm afraid all this NIL money that, like you said, Congress has got to take control of this and it's got to help out with this, because it's starting to get out of control. And Paul Feinbaum I'm sure you read it, but had an article about all that, about what was going on at LSU with the Will Wade and with the Les Miles situation. Les Miles been gone from there forever, but now they're getting sanctions on them because of something that happened before the NIL. But now the NIL's come around and now it's openly cheating. So it's like,
sure,
who cares anymore? So it's kind of where our world's going. It's kind of where everything's going government wise. It's all about money, and it bothers me so bad.
A listener asked where we are. We're at the Ford Ice Center. We're in a room. The Ford Ice Center tomorrow is a big piece of what's going on in and around the NFL draft. Commissioner Bettman will be here in the morning. A bunch of the top prospects, including Connor Bedard, will be here tomorrow. So this is going to be a big place, a big center of stuff, while they use the arena to do the actual draft. Everything I know at this point is that we will be in this room today and tomorrow. And by the way, thanks for the nice backdrop there. That was nice. Appreciate them doing that. And Wednesday, our show will originate from Bridgestone Arena in the hours before the draft.
I just worry, George, they're not kicking us out, are they? Just putting you back there till we get finished with the draft.
I think that, well, let me say this. I don't doubt they've had a staff meeting and said, are they worth keeping? And I don't know what the vote is. I don't think it's unanimous either way.
But we've got to ride it. We've got to ride it as long as we can. Correct.
No, absolutely we do. The alternative is not good at all. After the break, we'll talk about one of the Titans' better moments. Saturday, the memorial service for the late, great Bob Hyde, who was a friend to me, a friend to Kelly, an incredible friend to our National Football Foundation Middle Tennessee chapter. One of the eulogizers was a former Houston Oiler great. Some of you will remember him, quarterback Dan Pastorini. He will join us from Houston when we come back, so please stick around.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
We are back. I mentioned before the break, I thought it was one of the Titans' finest moments, their memorial service for a dear friend of both mine and Kelly Holcomb's, and that is Bob Hyde. Bob joined our National Football Foundation Middle Tennessee chapter, 8-10 years ago. And I'm telling you, the amount of work that guy did and propelled us to bigger and better things was incredible. All of the eulogizers Saturday were really good. I was blown away by Dan Pastorini. I've done 4 eulogies at funerals, and I can tell you, they're not easy. They're very, or at least for me, they're very emotional. Dan Pastorini got up, best as I could tell, with absolutely no notes, and just flat out spoke from the heart, and he was incredible. And so I asked him afterwards if he would join us on the show, and he was nice enough to say yes. Dan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. Am I right you did that with no notes?
No, it all came from the heart. I just I get confused if I have to read something, so I just it was easy to have memories flow with Bob. We were such good friends for many years, and he was just a great man and loved by many, as you could see from the turnout at his eulogy. And I was honored that Amy allowed me to speak, and spoke on behalf of all the Oiler organization and Titans. I'm sure there are people there that could identify with my thoughts. And he was just a special man, and we loved him very dearly, and always will. He's just that way.
You know, we're during this interview, Dan, we're going to show some pictures of the Oiler stuff in the old Astrodome, and you brought it up. You know, I remember in the 70s, the whole Love You Blue, Earl Campbell, the Monday night game against the Dolphins, which was one of the most amazing nights of football I've ever seen. But then all of a sudden, when the franchise moved here, it was almost like a bad word, the Oiler players. They weren't made to feel very welcome coming here. You know, it had to be weird for you all. And it's almost like Amy just said, Bob, go do your thing. And all of a sudden, a lot of the tension got relieved.
You know, I don't know if that was the case with Amy. I know that Bob was very fond of the Oilers and the Love You Blue years, because he and Jack Terry really were responsible for all the publicity that created. That Monday night game when we played Miami, which was a phenomenal game, and you know, we won, and Earl Campbell showed his wares and why he's in the Hall of Fame and whatnot. But when they did leave, it was like a hole in your heart. You know, it's like you lost a family member, and you go, well, who do we turn to? And you know, for many years, when Bud was the owner, Bud unfortunately left Houston with a bad taste in his mouth, and that stemmed from how Mayor Lanier, he and Bud grew up in the River Oaks area, and they were both spoiled kids, and they both hated each other at a young age, and they hated each other as grown men. So it was out of spite that he left. But you know, unfortunately, he took our family with him. And Amy has had the foresight, which I love her to death. I appreciate everything she's done to create this atmosphere that we now have between Tennessee and Houston. And we now have home. We have a home. And, you know, she was responsible for putting Bum Phillips in the Ring of Honor up there, which I thought was a great touch and very much appreciated. And this last reunion, the first and last reunion that she had, we had an opportunity to meet a lot of the Titan players that we, you know, had never been able to meet, you know, because we were never invited into their house to watch them play, like Eddie George and Aaron McNair and all those guys, you know, God rest his soul. But we never got a chance to even know them and be introduced to them. And, you know, it was nice to meet Eddie and all the other players, and we were very well received. And it was kind of like a coming home. And I was just appreciative to be one of those that could make it.
Well, Dan, it certainly resonated with all of us who heard what went on. And I guess I'm kind of curious, when did you know you were going to speak at this service?
When Amy called me, she asked me if, you know, his brother wanted me to speak, and I said absolutely. You know, that's no brainer. You know, I probably would have just walked up there if they didn't allow me. So I'm glad they put me on the docket and was chosen to speak. So it's you know, I don't have many friends. You know, at this stage in your life, you start losing a lot of friends, and I've lost several from that team, and I've lost, you know, the patriarch of all of it, Bum Phillips. Lost Jack Cherry, who was the PR man that was responsible for hiring Bob, and now Bob, you know. So it's I'm kind of leading the pack now. So I'm kind of, hopefully I don't have many more losses of friends, and because it's a tough pain to bear, really is.
Dan, one thing I can tell you before I turn it over to Kelly Holcomb, if I had $1 for every time Bob Hyde brought you up to me, I would be a rich man. He talked about,
well, don't believe it all.
Well, he talked about you a lot to me.
Well, thank you.
So just know that he certainly had great feelings for you as well. Kelly, say hello to Dan Pastorini.
Dan, how you doing?
Hey, Kelly. I'm good. How are you, Kelly?
Well, I was looking over your stuff, man. You played 13 years. I played 13 years. It was the one thing I took the other day away from all that stuff with Bob is your teammates, and your teammates drove up here with you. And just talk a little bit, because I don't think people understand like what, when you're playing football, when you're around it, when you're there every day, you just don't understand that it's going to end at some point. And when you've got the kind of friends, because I'm still on a thread with some guys that I played with, about 10 of us, and we still talk, but just talk about the friendships that you create when you're playing professional sports like that.
Well, that bunch of guys that were up there the other day are probably the nucleus of the Love You Blue team that, you know, had the most heart and the most love for each other. Bum instilled in us when he first took the job is that he said, I want you guys to play like, you know, your family. He said, you'll play harder you'll fight harder for your family than you will for your teammates. And that's true. We weren't teammates, we are family, and we still are family, and we always will be family. Every one of us that was on that team in 1978 till now, we're still family. And I've had I'm blessed to be chairman of the board for Being Angel Foundation. And I have a golf tournament every year that for the last 15 years. And because of these family members of mine who agree to show up and be nice and just, you know, treat the people that are paying patrons nice, and we have no jerks are allowed. So if you're not a nice guy, you don't come to my tournament. So we've been able to raise over $2.2 million in the last 13 years for Being Angel because of this family. Right. And it will continue. And I'm blessed that they support me and we support each other. And, you know, I'd kill for those guys and they'd kill for me too.
Yeah, and one of the other things I took from it, and you've talked about him several times, but what did Bum Phillips mean to you? Obviously, he meant a lot to you, to the city of Houston, and to your teammates. What did he bring that was missing?
Common sense and loyalty. Simple as that. He was a bright man. He just didn't show it. But you know, like I said, playing for your family, you fight harder for your family than your teammates. But he just was a no BS guy. And there's not a guy that I have met on opposing teams. They all want to know what's it like to play for Bum Phillips. When I went to the Raiders wanted to know that. And when I went to the Rams, they wanted to know that. The Eagles, same thing. What was it like playing for Bum Phillips? He was like a second father. And you know, we all had our moments with him. I remember one time we're playing Baltimore Colts. And I threw a hissy fit coming off an interception, and I knocked over the Gatorade table. And this was like, you know, middle of the second quarter. And he comes up to me. It's like his first year. He says, Dan, why don't you sit down for a while? And I mean, I begged him to please let me go back and play. I will never do that again. Oh, he said, I know you won't do it again. He said, just sit down. And then, you know, he pulled me aside after the game. And he said, you're not more important than the team and the family. And he said, you know, oh, you're going to play again. He said, but not today. And he never, ever after that had a problem with Dan Pastorini. And I said, yes, sir. And not a problem. And all of a sudden that bad moment turned into a very awakening moment for me. And it helped me in my career, the rest of my career.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let me ask you a couple more questions. Okay, so many years ago, I used to go to John Stallworth's tournament, and I got to meet all those guys. I can remember being a rookie, and we were up against Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, Levon Kirkland, Chad Brown, Carnell Lake, Rod Woodson, and it seems like you kind of played against the Mel Blunts, the Mean Joe Greens, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert. What was it like playing the Steelers? I can't stand them to this day, but it was. You had some epic battles against them in AFC Championship games, and I'm not trying to bring up bad memories, but just how tough were they back in those days?
They were tough, but you know, back in 78 they whipped us pretty good. 79, and I'll hold ground on this till I die. Had we gotten that touchdown to Mike Renfro, would have tied the score. I guarantee we would have beat them because we weren't turning the ball over. We were very conservative. We were moving the ball here and there, and our defense at that time was just as good as their defense. And I liked our chances. As long as we didn't take a chance and turn the ball over in our territory, I really believed that we would win that game. And if you look at the footage after that game, when all the fans came on the field, you look in the very center of that shot, and you'll see me being escorted by Dwight White on one side and Joe Green on the other side. Joe Green is sitting there pointing his finger in my face, saying, and it wasn't the first time he's ever pointed his finger in my face, but this time it was because of love. He said, "You guys beat us today." He said, "You hold your head up. Don't you dare get down on this." And you'll see me pat him on the face mask and say, "Go win it for our division." And they did, of course. But there was a lot of respect between the latter years of the Houston Oilers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Believe me, they didn't want to play us either. So we had some epic games with them the last few years.
There's definitely no wonder why the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you guys too. I mean, you had some great players, but you look at what I just go down there to his golf tournament all the time, and those guys are just such good guys. Like John Stallworth is such a good guy. Mel Blount's such a good guy. You can see why they've won so many games, and that's what it takes. That's what it takes to win games. You got to have good people.
Yeah, that's true, and you got to have them play well together. It's funny because Joe Green has come to my golf tournament the last 5 years in a row, and you're a nicer guy you'd never want to meet.
Absolutely,
Kelly, we got to get you here.
Hey, anytime, man. Just let me know. I'll head down there, man. I've been to Austin. I played in a Heisman deal down there. Of course, I wasn't, but Ty Detmer had me come down to Austin, and I remember meeting your boy Earl Campbell. What was it like playing with Earl Campbell? That had to be just something else, just to be able to hand him the ball and watch him just roll.
It was very comforting.
Very. I'm sure you got some good play action passes off of him.
Yes, we did. That was kind of our MO. If when I stuck my hand in his belly, it attracted a crowd, and it certainly created throwing lanes down the field. So it allowed our wide receivers, which were our burners, to get behind those guys, and we could get it out to him. And he made it very easy. I just wish that he had better hands, and it's really strange. I stayed after practice many, many days throwing him the football, and I kind of nicknamed him Stone Fingers because he just tightened up. I said, "Earl, just relax your hands," So then we're playing New England in the second round of the playoffs in '78, and I mean, literally, I would drop back to pass. I'd see him open in a flat, and I'd come off it. I wouldn't throw it to him. Well, this time I didn't even think about it, and I threw it, and I went, "Oh crap!" And so he just gives it the Gale Sayers, soft hands, Heisman pose, catches it and turns upfield. And I came off the field and I told him, I said, "Earl, this is what I've been trying to teach you all along. If I could just throw you the ball 10 yards down the field, you could just catch it and turn around and run over those little guys, rather than me bring it back to you 10 yards deep and having to run through the defensive lineman." I said, "You'd be able to play for 30 years. And he'd call me Pasto. He'd say, "Okay, Pasto, okay,
Pasto." Some guys can and some guys can't. I appreciate it, Dan, man. I know that George wants to talk to you, but I could talk to you all day. But yeah, anytime you want me to come, I'm in.
George's got my number, this is my number, so make sure I get your info.
Okay, I'll get it to him, Dan. I want to ask you one last thing. I think I'm right. I was a sophomore in college the night of that Monday Night Football game, and I've always believed that particular night propelled Monday Night Football to a new level of, oh wow, it's Monday Night Football, and that means it's special. Give me one memory from that night for you.
Walking out on the field was amazing. I remember waiting in the tunnel. I was always the last one introduced, and then I'm waiting, and I hear all this noise and everything. I'm kind of looking. I can't quite see outside. Then I come to the doorway into the stadium, and I looked up in the stands, and all you saw was about 60,000 blue and white pom-poms and these about 2 by 10 or 2 feet by 3 feet placards saying "Love You Blue." Every fan in the stadium had it. And I'd never seen anything like that in my life. Of course, neither did Howard Cosell and the rest of the broadcast booth either. And it just so happened it was one of those games that was a tremendous game to watch. And Earl Campbell, it was his highlight moment, I think, of his career, because he carried the ball something, I don't know, 28 times or something like that for 199 yards. And it was like, who's going to have the ball last is going to win the game. So we got the ball back, and we had about, I don't know, a minute and 40 seconds to go. And Bum said, just get a first down. I said, gotcha, no problem. So we called most of the plays at the line of scrimmage, depending on the defensive alignment. So I audible to a toss 38, and he takes it and goes up the field 80 yards for a touchdown. And I'm literally walking off the field with my hands like out to my side as if apologizing to Bum. I said, I'm sorry. And he said, well, 7 points will do us too. I said, I'm not so sure. And then they got the ball back. And then I think Bingham or somebody intercepted a pass. And we were able to run out the clock after that. But it wasn't over till, that gun went off. And that was kind of nerve-wracking.
Dan, you did an incredible job Saturday. And I think I know how proud Bob would have been to know that so many of you former players cared about him enough to be there. I am certain that up there somewhere he does know, and he is thrilled.
Well, I hope so. And I know that he and Bum and Jack Cherry are having a great time together, reminiscing right now.
You're right about that. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, George. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
He was one of the greats in that Oiler blue mix, Dan Pastorini, joining us on the show. And it was really great to be able to pull that off. And I so appreciate his willingness to talk to us. We'll have Plaster Bet of the Day when we come back.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals. all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Bear Difference at beardifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome back in. Final segment on a Reaction Monday. Just 2 hours away from first pitch of the College World Series Game 3 final between LSU and Florida. But first, it is time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, presented to you by Bart Durham Injury Law Firm. They are, simply put, the best in the business. They are lawyers you can trust. So give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. For George on Friday night, he went with the Phillies and got it done yet again.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Little hot streak, Kelly.
You doing it, George. I see you.
Yeah.
Ain't it easy as it looks, is it?
No, it isn't. You know, Billy needs to understand that. I think
he's not ever going to understand it. He's not in the arena.
Billy was 1-2 for Billy's Bet of the Day, so he got kicked out.
And he should. He should. He's just
You should
simply not ready.
You should have never let him do it.
No, you're right. He's not ready for that level of pressure. I mean, it comes, there's a real responsibility. The community needs good picks so that money comes their way and they can do good works in the community. Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
What a load of bull that was. Okay, so I'm going tonight with the Texas Rangers at home. Texas has been scoring a boatload of runs. And Detroit, they're a little better under A.J. Hinch, but they are still the Tigers. Texas at home's going to get it done. We're going to win. We're going to be 7 over 500 tomorrow, Kelly. Let the gloating begin.
When does this deal start over here? When does it start over so we can just nullify this?
July the 10th will be the final bet of the first fiscal year.
Okay, so right now you're in the positive.
Oh, I'm very much in the positive. And if I have to contract a disease to, keep it over 500, whooping cough or
you just don't show up for a couple of days and not have it?
Just go to Atlanta unexpectedly.
That's funny.
I can see it.
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, Texas Rangers. Kelly, I'm going to the NHL awards dinner tonight, and I'll report back. I think the old Plaster cam may provide some film footage.
Really?
Yeah.
We got a Plaster cam?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Can you throw that to me? There's the Plaster cam.
Do you know how to work that? Do you know how to work that? George?
I do.
Wow.
I do. I've got some great stuff. Listen, we've used it before. I have a feeling we're going to use it tonight, show you a couple of highlights of what the arena looked like, give people sort of an inside feel of it all. Then Wednesday, we will do the show live from Bridgestone Arena. Looking forward to that. We'll have reporters on site. I mean, Kelly, we spare no expense.
Oh, I see.
Can you spare me $1?
Unfortunately, you don't. You spare a lot of expense for your clothes. That's unfortunate.
Oh, come on!
This is a
nice shirt. It's got a Masters logo that I take.
No, I mean somebody gave that to you. You didn't buy it.
No, you're exactly right. Why don't you hush and go away? See you tomorrow.
See you, brother.
And see all of you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to both Mark McGee and Dan Pastorini for joining us. And thanks to the folks here at the Ford Ice Center who have wiggled some things around to give us a place to do the show. And thanks to the backdrop in the background. see you tomorrow.
I noticed the lights were on and I thought you might be home.